For the tractor with 30-foot rollers and go. Yes.
Learning all the time.
I got stuck out 3 hours ago, so we just got out.
Oh, no, you got that, the trunk.
It was springing the hill, and springing to a soft.
Oh, yeah,
Okay, my clock just ticked over to 6 o'clock, so I will convene this special session of the Paloma School Board. I'm gonna read my, I've got a script here to help me get through all this, so here we go. This is just the opening statement to get us going. We're here trying to address 2 sets of complaints filed with the Paloma School Board. The initial set of complaints were filed specifically against Board Chair Aaron Gudge related to Chair Gudge's social media post regarding Charlie Kirk's death. The second set of complaints is addressed to the full board and challenges the process by which the board is handling the complaints against Chair Gudge. Thus, this evening we will be having 2 separate hearings to address these 2 related but separate issues. Because the latter set of complaints goes to the entire complaint process, our first hearing will be on that matter immediately. Following by the complaints against Director Gudge. Moreover, as one of the sets of complaints is directed at Board Chair Gudge and the other is related to the process of addressing the complaints against her, I, as the school board vice chair, will be acting as the chair of tonight's hearings on these matters. Okay, the hearing rules, and these will apply to both our hearing. The following rules and guidance will apply to both the first and second hearings. Parties are asked to remain professional and refrain from personal attacks. Members of the audience are to remain quiet. Any audience member yelling, shouting, or being disruptive will be asked to stop and may include further sanctions up to and including a request for the person to leave the meeting. Such warnings will not count against the presenter's time if they're on the clock. Additionally, as board vice chair, I have the authority to establish order in the meeting and do so by reserving the right to impose any sanctions deemed necessary for violating the ground rules set for this hearing, up to and including a request for any participant or audience member to leave. I certainly don't expect nor hope that I have to do anything like that. The following ground rules will be applied during the hearing. 1, participants must address their presentations to the board. It's not to the public. And remain on the topic of the complaints. New complaints regarding events that occurred outside of the scope of the formal complaints are outside the scope of this hearing. Number 2, participants will address the board as a whole. They may not direct questions to individual board members or other parties. 3, participants will observe the time limits and respect the timekeeper's notice that time has concluded. I, as the board vice chair, will serve as timekeeper. Actually, the board's attorney here is going to join me in the help with that. All participants will speak in a respectful tone and volume. No personal attacks will be allowed. Parties who engage in personal attacks will be asked to stop. Such warnings will not count against a presenter's time. Board members will reserve questions for the question and answer period after each presenter. Okay, moving on. We're going to start with what I'm calling hearing number 1. This is the complaint, a complaint basically regarding the complaint process and First Amendment considerations. With that, I am now opening our first hearing on complaints filed by 2 individuals that the Paloma School Board does not have the authority to hear complaints against board members who post comments on their personal social media sites on First Amendment grounds. The board will be hearing from the 2 complainants this evening. Each complaint will have 10 minutes to present before the board. After each party's time has expired, they will be asked to end their presentation. Parties will need not use their full allotted time, but such time will be forfeited and may not be used by another party. The board will have an opportunity to ask questions of the parties before we as the board deliberate. After we hear presentation, the board will discuss and vote on how to respond to these complaints. Do the parties involved have any questions? Yes. No. Okay, you're just letting us know you're here. Great. And as I mentioned, the board's attorney here will be assisting with timekeeping. Each of the complainants will have 10 minutes for their piece, and Elizabeth here will give a 5-minute warning and a 1-minute warning. So with that, I'll call forth our first. You've chosen who's gonna go first? Okay, and they provided copies of what they're gonna read, so I'll pass those. These are not incremental, these are just copies of what they're reading. So, yep, yes, please. And if you would state your full name and then begin, and when you begin, we'll start our timer.
My name is Tony Hoyman. I'm a Falmouth School District resident, and I am, a little nervous.
It's all right. If you don't think we are, you'd be wrong.
I can appreciate your position right now. So I suggest that no action is the appropriate decision for a complaint about a board member's personal speech. Free speech is a fundamental right, as long as the speech breaks no law, is not threatening, is on personal social media. It is not school business. These complaints about board member Grudge are harassment targeting free speech. Harassment of this type should not be allowed to waste the board's time and resources. There's a recall election process to remove a board member for misconduct. Community members are free to use this process if they feel so aggrieved. And that is basically what I think you should do.
Okay, if you want to, just, while you're sitting there, we'll ask, does the board have any questions for Ms. Hoyman? Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Sexton. And same thing, he provided a copy of what he's about to read, I will pass that down.
I'm Jay Sexton, school board's resident. I have read the Philomath School Board complaint policy posted on the website, and I understand that the complaint process is fully described and that the school board is following the proper procedure. I also understand that the school board members are elected and cannot be forced from their seats by either action of the school board or by the school superintendent. The only action that can remove an elected school board member is a recall election. I urge the board to support the rights of the individuals on the board to have free speech, differing opinions, and individual public lives. Stepping forward to offer public service in an elected position should not require a person to hide their life. I believe the school board has the opportunity to demonstrate to the community and the students of our schools that people can tolerate differing opinions and work together for our common good. If community members are willing, a recall election is the only action able to remove a sitting school board member. There are over 9,000 registered voters within the Philomath School District. I feel that the Philomath School Board should not waste time considering complaints regarding personal speech or any other action outside the business of the school board. I urge the Philomath School Board to return no action on the complaints regarding board member Gudge's personal statements. I further urge the school board to consider limiting complaints to the board to those explicitly pertaining to the function of the school board. And this would require updating the Philomath School Board complaint processes or policies and processes to avoid wasting the time of the board on issues outside the scope of the school board's mission. Thank you for your service on the Philomath School Board.
Thank you, sir. Questions, Mr. Sexton? Okay. Thank you. Okay, and so hearing no further questions, the hearing part is now concluded and the board will begin its deliberations. So board members share perspective on these two complaints.
Like they stated, there is, am I addressing the board or addressing people? Or
Addressing the board, and
Okay.
you're discussing among us. So,
The fact is that the school board does not have the authority or the ability to do anything. It is an election recall process, so.
Right.
We don't have the ability to do anything. So I guess not, I don't know, there's a lot of discussion because it's a public election process.
Right.
Yeah, I can, oh, sorry, go ahead. Argue about people's, okay, thank you both for bringing those point that I really appreciate you, you being here tonight. I have also struggled with this, because to Ryan's point, I don't feel as though there is any
recourse for this group of people. We don't really have a way to really do anything. So it does feel as though this is a bit of chasing our tail and spending a lot of time and a lot of resources. Doing things that we could be putting towards, I think, real actionable items that would be beneficial to all the students in our community. So that's just fine.
So, upon getting, guidance from council, of course, there is the fundamental First Amendment right. But the First Amendment protects you from going to jail, for what you say. It doesn't, protect you from any and all other consequences. What I liken is, if you work for a big corporation, stand on the street corner and scream out how terrible that corporation is, or post things on social media about that corporation that isn't very favorable, they can take action. That's not particularly, that they can't have you arrested, but they can, you can have, consequences at your place of work. In terms of an elected school board member or any elected official for that matter, while again, they are afforded their First Amendment rights, there are also other considerations. I point out our oath of office that we all take, and it's one sentence long, so I'm just going to read it. I, as a member of the board, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Oregon and the laws thereof, and the policies of the Paloma School District. During my term, I will faithfully and impartially discharge the responsibility of the office of school board member to the best of my ability. So we do have policies about how to conduct ourselves when speaking in public, specifically social media, in public in general, but definitely addresses social media. So even though there is a constitutional protection for free speech, it doesn't, it's not completely unlimited. That speech is not completely unlimited when you hold a position of an elected position of authority, especially when you've taken an oath of this nature. So as much as I would like to say this is simply a matter of free speech issue, and we would, basically say there's nothing to consider here, I don't think the law or our own oath really gives us that option. I do think that the complaint process, the complaints that have been filed are legitimate complaints. The board will determine if they're warranted, meaning, if they're substantiated. But unfortunately, again, it would be very easy if this was just a freedom of speech issue, but it's not. So, any other deliberations? So then at this point, I would entertain a motion to either
Second comment.
please.
With legal counsel precedent, are we gonna later on discuss options? So I guess that'd be later on, we're discussing it, because right now we're just going through whether
Whether we really should even be hearing it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like I said, we have a whole separate hearing on the complaints against Eric.
If I may, I do think it's very important for the public to have an opportunity to raise complaints to the board if they have genuine concerns, so. I think that is.
Okay, so then I would entertain a motion to either substantiate or not substantiate these two complaints about the board's ability to even hear complaints of this nature.
And when you say of this nature, you mean within the bounds of the board's service or within this particular First Amendment question?
So we're addressing the complaint. Basically, these two are alleging that we shouldn't even be hearing these complaints because of Chair Gudge's full protection of free speech. And what I think the legal precedent is that's not accurate, that you do hold yourself to a different standard than just freedom of speech when you swear as a school board member.
Can I clarify something?
No, sorry. Sorry.
Well, it was I agree with what you're saying, yes.
So
Are you looking for? a motion?
I am. And it's that simple. The motion to either substantiate or not substantiate the complaint. So basically, do we, accept the complaints or do we not?
So I move that we need to accept the complaints because
Well, accept the complaints would mean that they have, and we really, there's no process by which we can.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah, yeah.
okay.
We've already, and I use the bad word, we already accepted the complaints, that's why we're having this hearing, right? The board took that action last week, or, last week, I guess. So this is, do we basically acknowledge the arguments that this is a freedom of speech issue, and that the board then can take no sanctions, or, really shouldn't even be considering any complaints, because we can't react. And so again, it's pretty straightforward. Do we substantiate or not substantiate the complaints? These two complaints about this First Amendment question.
Well, I appreciate what the people had to say and how they've said it. I would need to make a motion that we do not substantiate these.
Okay. So moved.
And I would like to do something a little vile and substantiate the claims that they made, but also request that we still move forward with the hearing. I know that's weird. That is how it is.
But we have this motion. Do I have a second on this motion?
I'll second Sam.
Okay, so let's take action on that, and if that fails, you can weigh in. All right, any discussion on? All right,
I mean, I have lots of things that I want to say,
well,
but.
this is the time to say.
This is really incredibly tricky. I feel like there are, council provided us with a very succinct, synopsis of First Amendment, and I did a real deep dive, into things that, Schoolhouse Rock, I don't know if anybody else knows that, about like a million years ago, and I still feel as though I'm running myself around and around trying to figure out what the right answer is here. I feel uncomfortable not substantiating the complaints that two residents are bringing on something that feels very, very like solid and core to my beliefs. But I value what you're saying, well, on my end.
Well, I'm just,
And the ease of moving forward.
so the legal opinion we were provided, I think, painted a very clear picture that the complaints we've received against Chair Gudge are legitimate for our policy and per, First Amendment law for us to consider.
I think that the other thing that I would like, and one of the things that the complainant brought up is the part of the where the board will subsequently be expected to hear complaints on free speech and this kind of, I mean, within the bounds of what is the what are parameters. I feel like this is a very slippery slope that could really pick up a life of its own moving forward.
And I feel like we're talking about just this case. Like,
Right.
if there's something in the future, we'd have to revisit that.
Well, and my answer to that would be the only legitimate complaints against that we would consider in this kind of context would be if they violated board policy. So if someone said, I plan on voting for this candidate, or I plan on going to that rally, and someone was offended by that, well, too bad. That is completely and totally freedom of speech. But we do have a policy. We've all sworn to uphold that policy, and and how we post things specifically on social media, that's clearly articulated in our policy. So this is one, I think, that the board frankly doesn't have much of a choice but to address. There are other ones that could be filed, and we could just easily reject those out of hand. We wouldn't have to hold a hearing. If we literally said, well, I don't like it, this person publicly said they're gonna vote for this candidate.
Yeah, I
Or,
agree with you,
yeah, I would say that would be, thank you for your complaint, the board is rejecting it, and we would move on.
Can I expand a little bit on what I said too? I feel like, in order to do the next hearing, and hear the following, or those complaints,
That is why I recommended the motion, is so that we can go on with the process.
Yeah.
That's my fear now, so that we can, yes, so that we can.
Yeah, I would argue yes, because that is the argument I'm making, because that is the appropriate thing to do.
Correct.
Both the legal arguments and our own oath of office, our own policy basically points us that direction.
Right, and that's why.
Now, I know that the two complainants in this, did point out that the board can take no, action of removing,
Right.
and we'll talk about this in the next hearing, but our own policy doesn't even give us the option. I mean, we certainly do not have, any, mechanism to remove any of us from the board. That's very, very clear, and it's very disheartening to see the number of emails and messages we got that said, the ones I found most entertaining was, superintendent, you need to remove Aaron Gudge from the school board. No, that is not how this works, right?
Yeah.
So the complainants are certainly right on that fact. And then in terms of the option of, replacing Director Gudge as chair, we don't even have a policy that permits that. Our policy makes no mention about, basically removing a officer, chair or vice chair, and no way to even call a special election. The only time our policy calls for election is when we just all got reelected, when there's, a regular election, or no, I'm sorry, once a year. In July, the end of the term, we would re-up, we would re-vote for officers. And our board policy, frankly, is pretty weak, because it doesn't even say if the chair resigns or leaves the district, or, those types of things have, there's no, exactly. There's no mechanism to say, well, okay, then how do we pick the next chair? So it's really a huge flaw, because that has to have happened in the past, but our board policy doesn't address that. So, back to these two complainants. Yes, they are right. There is no mechanism for us to specifically remove, Chair Gudge from the chair or from the school board. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to not substantiate these complaints, basically saying that we disagree that the process is invalid, and that we basically shouldn't be hearing these complaints from it, that we'll hear the other thing at all. Any other discussion on that? Okay, all right, so we have that motion basically to deny the complaint or not substantiate these two complaints. With that, I will take a call for a vote. All those in favor to not substantiate these two claims? Okay, that's unanimous. Good discussion, always nice when it's unanimous. Okay, thank you for your concern and for your respect to this process. And with that, I will close that part of the hearing. And we will now move to our next one. Okay, so opening our second hearing on complaints filed against Board Chair Aaron Gudge related to Chair Gudge's social media posting regarding Charlie Kirk's death. The board will be hearing from 7 complainants and Chair Gudge this evening. There was an 8th complainant who could not attend tonight, but she submitted written testimony last Friday, which the board members have received. Each complainant will have 10 minutes to present before the board. Given there are 8 formal complaints, Chair Gudge will have 20 minutes to present her response, which she will do at the end. After each party's time has expired, they will be asked to end their presentation. Parties need not use their allotted time, but such time will be forfeited and may not be used by another party. We will start with complainants, and then Chair Gudge will present. The board will have an opportunity to ask questions of the parties for deliberation. And just so we don't have to call people back up, like I did with the previous one, you can ask questions at the end of their presentation. It's not part of the 10 minutes. And then when everyone's done, if we want to ask additional questions, we can do that.
Without calling individuals out.
Well, you're going to be asking a question of an individual, so you would be, yeah. Okay, the board will have the opportunity to ask questions. Like you said, after that, the board will discuss and vote on how to respond to these complaints. Complainants shall present their case first, as mentioned. I've just done a random selection to determine the order. The complainants will present as follows. As I read your name, if you could just get a hand up to make sure you're here. Shelley Neiman is number 1. Christy Vaughn. All right, thank you very much. Number 2, Ron Hogg. Okay, we don't have Ron, okay. Sherry Kramer. Okay, great, thank you. Davin Silverman. No? Davin's not here, okay, well, they should be marking these up. No Ron and no Davin. Michelle Reed, great, and Amanda Lynn. Amanda? I don't see Amanda either. Julie Hogg, but yeah, I assume she, yeah. They have profiles.
Meeting.
All right, so I'm just confirming, I don't have Ron Ogg, Davin Silverman, or Amanda Lindsay. Okay, and that's, their complaints are still filed, we have the original complaint, so the fact they're not here to testify, just deprive them an opportunity to make another case, but other than that, their complaints are still part of this process and will be considered. Okay, with that, at this point, no. Phil, you're up. Phil. Oh, yeah, so take a seat, but I did a couple more things. Sorry, at this point, I will remind everyone that in lieu of verbal testimony, complainant Jesse Brown submitted a written statement that you all received on Friday, so that's part of your, and I think you all saw the email from me this morning. All of our complaints and legal guidance and all that is in one directory, so that should have at your fingertips tonight. Okay, any questions of the parties? I'll ask that again, even though I asked it earlier. Okay, great. So, calling forward Michelle Neiman. Again, please state your full name and begin, and we'll start it.
My full name is Michelle Neiman, or Shelley Neiman. Thank you for your service. I wanted to say that first and foremost, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I'd like to start, if it's okay, by reading my formal complaint, followed by some additional remarks. My formal complaint dated September 11th reads, Dear Philomath School Board members, I am writing to express my deep concern and disappointment regarding a recent social media post made by the current school board chair. The message, which indirectly condoned homicide and intolerance, is not only alarming, but fundamentally incompatible with the values we expect from someone entrusted with representing our school district. Just last month, our school district partnered with local emergency services for a collaborative active shooter safety training exercise. This is serious. As a community member and a former Philomath School Board chair, I find it unacceptable that an individual in such a prominent leadership role would share such hateful rhetoric. Posts such as this send a dangerous message to our students, families, and educators. One that undermines the principles of respect, empathy, and unity. Our school district has strived so hard to instill and overcome these values over the years. I urge the school board to take appropriate measures to address this matter. I trust that you will act in the best interest of our students and community, and uphold the standards we expect from our elected officials. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Shelley Neiman. I would also like to add tonight that I'm somewhat embarrassed to say that prior to September 10th, I did not even know who Charlie Kirk was. But you know who did? My children. Both of whom attended the Philomath School District all throughout their schooling. And one that just graduated and shared the stage with some of you just a few short months ago. So many members of the younger generation were shook to their core by this outrageous act of violence that took place on school grounds. This included one of my son's childhood friends, who is also a recent Philomath High School graduate, and whose siblings are in this district today. He was actually present when the shooting occurred. These young members of our community were extremely troubled and deeply grieving for the loss of an innocent life taken in such a violent way. For the chair of their hometown school board to publicly post such a cruel statement only hours after the event that so boldly read, and I quote, "Some men improve this world only by leaving it," End quote. And in the context of a school shooting, nonetheless. No matter who the victim is, this is reckless, divisive, and indicative of bias and an extreme lack of professionalism. The public post has raised deep concern and led many of us in the community to question the chair's ability to lead impartially, enforce policy fairly, and uphold the trust placed in her as an elected official. I would argue that while freedom of speech protects personal expression, public comments from someone in authority carry weight and consequences. To clarify, I call them public because they were shared directly with hundreds of people in this community. Friends, to include myself, parents, staff members, and possibly even some students. To me, that is not considered private in any way. The post mocked a tragedy and implied that violence is acceptable. Just as Chair Gudge may feel the right to share her opinion so publicly, community members have the right to question her ability to remain unbiased and objective when writing and enforcing schools' policy, especially if the circumstances don't align with her personal views. At the very least, and rightfully so, it has undermined the trust that many of us have in her ability to lead them. How can Chair Gudge govern our district and students when she can't professionally govern herself? I would like to close with my belief that responding to hate with more hate only deepens division and erodes the possibility of meaningful dialogue. Professionalism and objectivity, especially in emotionally charged situations such as this, are powerful tools that we can all use for some clarity and peaceful resolution. Thank you for your time.
If you wait a second. Pause is inappropriate in a hearing, sorry. Questions before?
I have a question, and that's gonna be the same question I have, I think, for everybody, and I've asked this question, Mr. Board. In your original thing you read, you asked the school board to take appropriate measures. And I've been struggling trying to figure out what the appropriate measure is, because I asked every time we've had one of our meetings, I keep asking. As far as I understand, and I read the school board policies as well, I don't know that there's any action we can take. So I'm probably gonna ask every person, because they're all gonna say, I don't know. I know what measures people want to have happen, but as Vice Chair pointed out, we don't have the ability or authority as far as I've understood and read. So, I'm stuck with, in this discussion, what are we, I know we were expecting something of us, and I can't figure out what we're supposed to do. So I've asked questions, I feel at a loss the only thing I understand we can do is after a person has been elected for 6 months, it's a recall process. And we're not 6 months, so I just feel at a loss, because I know people expect something out of us, and I don't know what that is.
Yes, I understand, and I understand your hands are tied. I think at the very least, I would respectfully ask that each of you ask Chair Gudge to step down as chair. I think that would be appropriate. And I think it would be an appropriate response from you. I think it would be an appropriate response from Chair Gudge.
I have a question. It's a good question. Again, thank you for being here. Thank you for your statement. I'm gonna ask the same question probably of everyone as well. And you alluded to it. You said that it was a public post, and then you went on to say that it wasn't necessarily a public post, but that the way that it was presented to the people that were in Chair Gudge's friend list made it public. So I'm curious where you saw the post.
I don't believe I said that it wasn't public. I think all along I said that it was public. I think to hundreds of people in this community is public.
Okay, so where did you see it?
I am her friend. That's why I said including friends, myself. I am her friend on Facebook.
So to clarify, that's what I'm looking for.
That is
just
correct.
To clarify.
I did
you
not
thought-
share it. I kept it to myself. As the date of my complaint shows, I almost instantly wrote a complaint before it got out of control.
And that was based on your firsthand seeing it posted on her.
That is
her
correct.
Facebook. Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Steven, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Christie Vaughn.
Hello. Everybody, I'm not a public speaker, bear with me. My name is Christy Vaughn. This is now my third statement regarding the post made by Aaron Gudge. Based on your perception of Charlie Kirk's beliefs, you condone the loss of his life. Regardless of what you believe, we are all people made in the image of God, and every life has value, regardless of our differences. I hope you do understand that the world is full of many people with many thoughts and views, and perception of these thoughts and views is powerful, but not always correct. What you thought he stood for is inaccurate, but you still believed it. You found it hateful, hurtful, and wrong. That was your perception. And to you, that means, as you quoted, the world is better off without him. However, there are many people who make you think the same thing about your thoughts and views, based on their own perception. Are they justified to condone the same fate towards you? And what about kids at the school? Many of them may find their peers' thoughts and views hateful, hurtful, and wrong, also based on their own perception. Does that justify murder and a heartless response to it? I truly hope your answer to these questions are no. What kind of message do you think your post conveyed to young minds that don't agree with others? What kind of world do you think this mindset will create? Is this the world we want to live in our schools? And is this the mindset we want to foster inside the hearts and minds of children, which will inevitably pour out and create the world they live in too? Because a lot of different people believe in a lot of different things in the world and always will. Demonizing people, weaponizing differences of opinion, and condoning violence is not the answer. Children are young, their brains are not fully developed, and they are impressionable and searching for answers. We all know this. As leaders of children, you should know this, and you are all responsible for protecting them while at school, just as while we are at home. I know each person is allowed to have their own opinions. It is a free country with free speech. There are many who will say that you too are exercising your right to free speech. And you were, and you did, and you have the freedom to do so without harmful consequences. We absolutely wish no harm on you. We hope you grow and learn to see the world in all its differences of people with genuine tolerance and love. Hate is never the solution. Free speech should not result in hate or violence, but it can still carry civic consequences, especially when this speech is posted by a leader in the education system on a public platform that many children have access to. Leaders and educators should be held to a higher standard, considering the minds they are helping shape in this divisive and chaotic atmosphere we live in. With the rise of school shootings and violence, division in our country, and hate abounding, truly concerns me that you thought it was a good idea to post these statements to a public social media platform that impressionable children have access to. For me and many others, this highlights your current inability to make wise choices and carry out this position respectfully. We can all change and grow, and that is the hope for us all. But until then, when the lives and minds of innocent children are at risk, we must be diligent in who we allow in leadership positions. Also, it doesn't make sense to me that to some people, death as a result of free speech is okay, yet stepping down from a voluntary position for the sake and safety of a school is not. Again, we wish no ill towards you. We simply don't think you are fit to help lead a school district. Your words reflect a heart and mind that are not open to making careful decisions for children, fully comprehending the power of thoughts spoken out loud. The tongue has the power of life and death. Words do matter. Words have power. Children are listening and watching, especially the most lost and vulnerable among them. We are all leaders in our homes and schools, and we should all be guarding our hearts and careful with the words that come out of them. If you cannot do that, you should not lead. As a side note regarding the comments and what you claim to lead, I strongly encourage all of you in the field of education to learn the valuable skill of researching a person's stance in its entirety before coming to conclusions. Ask questions, have civil conversations, try to understand the other person on a human level. Research the whole story and not just parts of it or opinions of others. You have the right to not do any of this, but that is not wise. Half-truths are still a lie, and nothing fruitful in a value can be built on lies. We should all seek truth and humanity in all learning, or at least I hope we will. We fully understand and have no power to remove a person. We ask that you step down. Thank you for your time.
Douglas, questions? Any?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, okay, it's on, sorry, she's got it. Sorry.
So first off, I want to tell you, you did a good job.
Oh.
I know you were very nervous the first time, you like, did it, thank you for coming in and speaking. I appreciate you putting yourself in an uncomfortable position, you know how scary that can be. And so I am just trying to ascertain as far as like the public versus private sector of Facebook, where you saw the posted.
I am not personal friends with her, so I saw it once it got reposted. And every day.
So on the public part.
Right.
So not on the private page that she
Right.
posted.
Exactly.
Okay. So after it had been.
Right.
It's distributed.
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right,
Thanks, Christy.
thank you as well. Okay, Gary Kramer.
Members of the board, thank you for this opportunity to speak. In reference to the earlier comments, this issue at hand has nothing to do with Ms. Gedge's right to the freedom of speech. As a private citizen, she has the right to say or post whatever she wants. However, once she chose to serve the public, she accepted a higher ethical standard, and although the Constitution does protect Ms. Gedge from being arrested by the government for her words, it does not protect her from being held accountable for her post that betrays public values, trust, and respect. Leadership in public education carries both privilege and heavy responsibility. School board members are entrusted with shaping policies that affect our students, guiding the values of our schools, and representing our community with professionalism and integrity. The expectation within the Paloma School Board District, within the Paloma School District Board Member Standard of Conduct is clear when stating that a board member will treat and address the public with respect on social media. Number 21. Sadly, Ms. Gedge used her platform to celebrate the death of a public figure by posting that some men improve the world only by leaving it. To be clear, a father, a husband, a brother, and a son was murdered. He was taken from his family in an act of unthinkable cruelty and cowardice. To then see a leader in our school system not only publicly rationalize and dismiss this tragedy, but to celebrate it is both sickening and dangerous to all of us. Regardless of one's personal politics or opinions about that individual, the act of publicly applauding his death is cruel, undignified, and entirely inconsistent with the behavior expected of an elected leader in education. This post does not merely reflect poor judgment. Her callous disregard for human life and dignity puts our students, families, and community values directly in harm's way. Ms. Gedge obviously realized this post would cause damage and have potential consequences based on the fact that she quickly deleted it. But the damage had already been done. Let me explain the harm done and why she must be held accountable for her words. Number one, Ms. Gedge is a role model for our students.
Every board member is a visible representative of not just policies, but values within our community. When students see a leader rejoice in crime, it models the normalization of hostility, intolerance, and contempt. This directly undermines the lessons of respect, empathy, and civic engagement our schools strive to teach. The children in our community should feel safe. They should be taught about respect, courage, and human decency. Instead, Ms. Gedge Post creates a hostile environment that could encourage bullying, harm, or even killing with others with differing viewpoints if one thinks that would improve the world. Number 2, community trust. Trust in this board has been shaken. Philomath board members represent the Philomath community, and your personal social media posts reflect on the district and community as a whole. Your words carry weight, and you don't just speak for yourself. You represent every student, parent, and teacher in this district. Trust is both broken beyond repair due to her divisively worded post that dishonors and misrepresents the dead, coupled with the quote that justifies violence. This kind of rhetoric erodes public confidence, polarizes our community, and makes families question whether the board can govern fairly and responsibly. Philomath students deserve leaders who focus on education, not controversy. Number 3, Ms. Gedge violated professional standards. As a board member, especially a board chair, dignified conduct, mutual respect, and integrity of the office must be upheld. Publicly celebrating, promoting, excusing, or normalizing not just violence, but a public execution stands in direct opposition to these standards. It damages the reputation of the Philomath School District, and it undermines the credibility of this board. Number 4, distraction from education. Instead of focusing on academic achievement, safety, and the opportunity for all students, our community and school board is now distracted with controversy. This diverts time and energy away from students, the very people this board was elected to serve. This is not a matter of free speech. The Philomath community values free expression and diverse viewpoints. This is a matter of accountability for her words. There's a clear line between disagreement and indecency. When an elected official crosses that line in a way that damages trust, harms the district's reputation, and sets a toxic example for students, the responsible course is to step down. This is also not about politics. This is about basic human decency. This is about who we are and what we stand for. Our students watch us closely. They see how adults handle conflict, how leaders model values, and how communities respond to misconduct. Keeping Ms. Gedge in office signals that cruelty and disrespect are acceptable in leadership, and that accountability to standards of conduct are not upheld. How can we then expect a different standard of respect for our students to follow? Let us show the next generation that this level of misconduct has no home in Philomath leadership, and that when someone crosses that line, we will not stand by in silence, because our children are worth it. By resigning, Ms. Gedge can put students and community above ego and politics. She can allow the district to move forward with leadership that unites rather than divides, builds trust rather than erodes it, and models the integrity our youth and community deserve to see. Members of this Philomath School District, why would we hold a school board member to a lower level of accountability than the students she's supposed to serve? If a student doesn't abide by school policy, there are consequences. Yet somehow when a leader does this, people rush to defend it as free speech. That's not accountability, that's hypocrisy. Freedom of speech does not protect Ms. Gedge from the consequences of disrespecting the public, and your action needs to ask for her immediate removal from the board. This would affirm that we hold our leaders to standards of ethics and professional conduct, including integrity and dignity. For the sake of our students, our schools, and the reputation of our community, Ms. Gedge must step down to restore the trust and shift focus back to the students. The credibility of this board, the integrity of our schools, and the safety of our community demand nothing less. By remaining in office, A clear and dangerous message is sent by each one of you that cruelty is not only tolerated, but that it's accepted. Their words don't matter, and that leadership no longer means responsibility. By asking for a resignation, you will demonstrate that respect for the public and accountability matter. You have a personal responsibility to the youth in this community, and you hold the reputation that this school board embodies. Each one of you has an opportunity to be a leader worth following. Whether that means stepping out of the way or standing in the gap to protect our students from those who would promote violence if they thought it would improve the world. For all that's at stake in our community and for the commitment to our students, I respectfully and humbly call on Ms. Gudge to resign.
Thank you. Questions?
I'll go back to what we said before, is that I just want to make it clear that the board can't do anything, right? And I know that a lot of people are holding the board, wanting to hold the board accountable for what happens from here forward. There's nothing we can do to ask her to step down or to enforce her to step down. So I guess I just want to make sure that we shouldn't be accountable for something one of us did when the rest of us didn't do it.
But it reflects all of you.
Understood. Understood. And I do know that, but I also don't want it reflecting us because we're not doing anything. It's
And-
because we cannot.
This should be directed questions.
Sorry, yes. Yes,
Sherry, thank you for coming. So I'm gonna ask the same question as to where you saw the social media post first. You were friends with Ms. Gudge, or who saw it after the fact, after it was disseminated?
Yes, I'm not sure that why it matters, but I did see it as a public post. And it
So-
was a post throughout Oregon, so.
So it was a post that was taken from her private
Yes,
page.
And due to the recall process and needing to have actual factual information, I researched out the person who initially posted from her account and did find a source.
Okay. Thank you.
The question? Thank you very much. Okay. Michelle Reed.
My name is Michelle Reed and I live here in Floman. Just thank you for the school board for taking the time to listen. We do appreciate it. Your time is valuable. I want to start out by saying, as a member of our local community, our small city Floman, I want the same things you do. I want to live in a place where neighbors help each other, where our leaders look out for the best things for those they represent. All of us must do our part to be moral, upstanding citizens. Those who are elected here to represent the Philomath community on the school board have a responsibility more than average citizens. These are quoted, I took them from the Oregon School Boards Association. They're from the important principles for board members. The child comes first. School boards are community members. School board members function as a board, not individually. School board members are the people's representatives. Abiding by code of conduct and board member ethics is important. This is from a different association of school boards. The school board creates a positive image for and within the district. The school board maintains awareness of community values and interests. With these guidelines in mind, I came here to address the post that I read from our school board chair. Yes, I do agree. Facebook is considered a place and a way to express personal views. However, when you are elected by your neighbors and community, as many have said already, to represent them on the school board, you now hold in your hands a greater responsibility. And you are more well-known than an average citizen. It's not a matter of, can I say this, but should I say this? The post by the school board chair is being painted as just a matter of opinion. So again, I call to attention the actual words that were written. After Charlie Kirk was brutally murdered, she wrote, "Some men improve the world only by leaving it." If we look at this statement, some men in this case would mean Charlie Kirk, because that was what the post was about. The words "leaving it" mean dying. So the statement actually says Charlie Kirk improved the world by dying. As a school board chair elected to represent the people of this community, this is a morally reprehensible statement. Sometimes we share a post without thinking about what it truly means. But not only did Ms. Gudge share this, she added more statements to back it up. She shared it because it is what she thinks. If Ms. Gudge thinks Charlie Kirk improved the world by dying, does she think other people who teach and agree with his views should die to improve the world? Is this how she represents the people of this community? I ask the board members to please ask Ms. Gudge to step down as chair. To the question I know is coming, I did see it on a public post. However, that's the way Facebook works. You're supposed to post and share to each other. I share other people's statements all the time.
To be clear, it was a screenshot.
To be clear, it was a post that's shared by another person. So again,
So.
I think it's appropriate that it was appropriate that it was shared. It's appropriate that others knew. And as a citizen and as a resident of this town, I understand that we elected all of you to be here. I think that asking someone to step down is appropriate. And I understand that it's her choice to make. But clearly, this community's shaken. And we need leaders who are willing to say, that's the line we don't cross. Thank you.
Hold on, now for questions.
Oh.
Did you, yeah,
I have
okay.
a question.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you for your
Thank you.
statement. I'm just gonna confirm that the three I called out earlier that didn't put up their hand are still not here, Ron or Julie Ogg. Gavin Silverman and Amanda Lee. Okay. So at this point, again, I'll just remind that, do the board members have any other questions of the complainants before we? Okay. All right, hearing no further questions, this hearing is now concluded and the board will begin its deliberation. Oh, yes, go ahead, sorry. That was the line I couldn't ask him right away. Yeah, Aaron, you get your chance, sorry. All right. Yeah, I turned the page to that, sorry. Chair Judge, it is now your opportunity in about 20 minutes. So we'll give you a 10 and a 5 minutes.
First, I want to apologize to district staff, educators, students, community, and my fellow board members for this disruption the situation has caused. I deeply regret the divisiveness that has arisen and acknowledge the added burdens this has placed on our district community. I'm deeply saddened by others having to experience the echoes of commentary and anger from this situation. I recognize, although I did not intend for any of this, the impact remains. Some may not accept or believe my apology, but it is sincerely given. If I could do things differently, I would. I have chosen to hold this hearing in open session to allow for the airing of grievances against me in public, to encourage transparency and honesty, and to finally have a chance to speak directly to our community. While what has been said about me in the public discourse is within everyone's First Amendment rights, which I defend as heartily for others as for myself, I am grateful to finally have the opportunity to speak publicly and provide facts as well as my personal reflections. The fact that my post was shared to such a huge audience without the context of who I am as a person is regrettable, but was entirely out of my control. While I have your attention, let me provide that context by sharing some of my fundamental beliefs. Violence is never acceptable. Freedom of speech is fundamental to our society. I believe in America, the Constitution, and our electoral processes. All people are worthy of dignity and respect. Every child has the right to a free, accessible, and equitable education. Children deserve safety at home and at school. They deserve strong support systems and access to quality food, healthcare, and adults who love and celebrate them for who they are. Expanding and protecting rights improves everyone's lives. We are all stewards of this world, and we have a responsibility to leave it better than we found it. I don't withhold my care because of a difference of political opinion or religious convictions. My support of freedoms and my respect are not reliant on us having the same views or religion. I'm the child of a wildly liberal mother and an intensely conservative father, and I don't love one of them more than the other because of their views. I believe it is possible and necessary to hold the following truths at once. I have the right to speak personally, and I have the responsibility to consider how my words may affect public trust. In the eyes of some, I have failed to do that. However, I must be clear that while the only business before the board this evening is a hearing of complaints, I have received dozens of messages from members of this community who have spoken in support of my right to freedom of speech and for my vocal support of the historically underserved and vulnerable people in our district. Many of the messages come from people who I have never met before. Some are from past students who have grown into amazing citizens of the world, and many are from people who do know my heart and my compassion for people. Thank you so much for your support during this genuinely terrifying experience. I will not flinch away from the loud voices because they cannot be allowed to succeed in drowning out the quiet ones. Everyone experiences a different version of a person dependent on what they show to you and your own lived experiences. As for people's view of me, I try to show up honestly. I don't hide my brightly colored hair, exuberance, love of art and education, or how deeply I care about people. Some people now think that I stand for hate and I tolerate violence, which is heartbreaking because I don't. I now realize that similarly, my experience of Mr. Kirk is very different from others' experience of him. I wasn't aware of him other than as a pundit, debater, and someone whose opinions and words do not align with my own deeply held faith. I am now aware that he was idolized. I genuinely did not realize how wide that gulf between our experiences of him was. On the morning of September 11, I posted on Facebook, privately to friends only, a shared post from the artist Blacksmith, which included a quote attributed to Oscar Wilde and the artist's reflective statement. The quote said, "Some men improve the world by leaving it." And the artist's statement read, "I can choose to not celebrate, but also not be sad." Initially, I did not add commentary of my own, but later edited the post to include something I had written in response to an argument in a comment with my cousin. I had no idea that my family squabble would reach a national spotlight. My words, for the record, were, "I will not mourn someone who spewed hatred in the face of grieving mothers the day their children were murdered. I will not mourn someone who would have preferred my own child not exist. I will not mourn someone who is teaching young people that empathy is weak and civil rights should not be afforded to all. I feel deeply sad for his children. I do not mourn him." And those were the only words that were my actual words and not a shared post, just for clarity. I received a call from Superintendent Halliday early that afternoon informing me that my post was causing concern among community members. I checked my board email, saw one single email from a concerned community member asking me to remove the post, and I did so immediately and issued a public apology at the same time. I responded directly to the community member who had reached out with concern. I was confused as to how this person had even seen my post because it wasn't a public post. I offered to make a statement of apology at that evening's board meeting, but was advised to stick to the meeting agenda and not derail the business of the board. I only later found out that a screenshot of my friends only post on my personal non-school board affiliated account was taken by someone I thought was a friend and sent to someone else in our community, who then publicly posted it to her own account. After that, the screenshots of my posts continued to be exuberantly shared by a small group of community members and intentionally posted in groups known to foment public anger. From there, it circulated on various social media platforms, eventually being picked up by an organized extremist far-right account. That post has received nearly 1 million views. I was swept into a national, organized, and well-funded movement to dox, fire, and censor tens of thousands of American voices, especially those tied to education. I was added to a website labeling me a murderer, built with the specific intent to get me fired and punished. This situation has escalated far beyond anything I could have possibly anticipated, leading to harassment and threats. My personally identifiable information, including my home address, has been shared with malicious intent online by actors both known and unknown. I have received threats of violence, including rape and death. I have been stalked online, menaced, harassed, and defamed. I've been told to kill myself. My appearance has been insulted repeatedly and with a distinct lack of creativity. Homophobic and transphobic slurs have been used against me. One comment left on my mother's social media account stated that they hoped she would have to hear the sound of my neck snapping. Another said that they hoped I was out collecting rounds. I've been called a demonic force, subhuman, and it. And one community member suggested I be chased out of town with torches and pitchforks. Dehumanizing people through our choice of language makes cruelty easier. But my words were considered hateful and inciting violence. I don't agree that there's a correlation between not mourning someone and condoning gun violence or homicide. Violence on school campuses is worsening every year, and I feel increasingly helpless to do anything about it. I do not condone calls to violence or murder, and I believe that a decade or more of knowing some of the people in this community, in this room, who spoke tonight would have made that clear. I'm afraid every day for the safety of children in this community in the face of violent rhetoric and discrimination. I repeat, I don't celebrate Mr. Kirk's death, and I feel absolutely terrible for his children to have lost their father in such a public and brutal way. No one should experience violence or discrimination for their identity or their closely held moral and ethical beliefs. No one should silence someone for not believing the same thing they believe. All of our children deserve an inclusive and equitable environment that provides safety, respect, and access to education, health, and well-being. A few people have said I didn't know who Charlie Kirk was, and I'm willing to be wrong and learn, so I spent several hours watching his podcast and college campus appearances, and I did find one thing with which I can agree with Mr. Kirk. My purpose in life is greater since becoming a mother. While I have been advocating for civil rights since I myself was a teenager, becoming a parent strengthened me in a resolve that my greater purpose is to serve all children, to do whatever I can to make sure that all children are safe, loved, and valued for exactly who they are, to make their way in the world easier, to advocate and fight for everyone to have equality and rights. I believe in the importance of public engagement, and I think it's important for the concerned complainants' voices to be heard by the board. But at the same time, I question the appropriateness of whether a governmental body regulating or censoring private speech outside of considering whether policy has been violated is appropriate. If my post had been public or made from an official board Facebook page or an account linked to my role on the board, this would be an entirely different conversation. I worry deeply about this becoming a precedent, that censoring speech is acceptable when you don't agree with someone. Showing our children that one post on social media becomes unforgivable, that freedom of speech only applies to some, but not all, that only the people with whom you disagree should be held accountable for their words. I believe I've addressed some components of most of the complaints this evening, but I would like to address a few things individually. Thank you. I know Ms. Lindsay was not here this evening, but the board members did receive her complaint, and I would like to address some of the things within that. I categorically deny several implications within Ms. Lindsay's complaint. Her complaint contains dishonest rhetoric, including distortions of what I actually wrote and false characterizations intended to cause reputational harm. It's important to distinguish between the impact of a private post and assertions about intent that are not supported by the facts. The quote provided in Ms. Lindsay's complaint is also inaccurate and, in my opinion, intentionally so, utilizing manipulative bad faith language. The implication that I think all men should die is patently false and defamatory. As a daughter, a wife, and a mother, I find that accusation egregious. While I will agree that there was callousness in my post, the idea that I was using my private social media account to promote hate and intolerance is a gross mischaracterization of my intentions and values. Additionally, Ms. Brown is not here this evening, but she had quoted direct policy in her complaint, and I would like to address that. This is in regard to policy BEF, board member standards of conduct. And the language that was quoted in Ms. Brown's complaint is not actually the language from our own district policy, so I am referring to our district policy in this. Point 4, respect the right of other board members to have opinions and ideas which differ. I respect not only the right of the other board members to have opinions and ideas that differ, but I enjoy hearing other board members' perspectives and considerations in our discussions and deliberations. I might not always agree, but I'm always respectful. Our ability to serve every student in this district relies on a board that represents a range of viewpoints. Serving on this board for the past 4 years has given me the opportunity to meet people outside of the echo chamber of my own experiences, and I have been made better for it. Use of social media, websites, and other electronic communication, use social media judiciously, respectfully, and in a manner that does not violate Oregon public meetings laws. The policy language is quite subjective for this. One clear and undisputed point is that I did not violate Oregon public meeting laws. Where interpretation comes into play is whether my post rises to the level of being disrespectful or injudicious. And reflecting on this standard, I sought outside guidance on how judicious use is generally understood under Oregon's rules. The key points are: Oregon's public meeting laws applies to deliberation or decision-making about official board business. And again, my friend's only post on my personal account unrelated to board matters does not trigger those provisions. Posts that clearly represent personal opinion, particularly when not referencing district business, fall within a board member's rights. Based on this, I believe my private post did not violate the intent of this standard. And point 21, when posting online or to social media, board members will treat and refer to other board members, staff, students, and the public with respect, and will not post confidential information about students, staff, or district business. This provision does not apply to the incident in question. At no point did I treat or refer to board members, staff, students, or the public with disrespect, nor did I post any confidential information. I've already stated this several times, but my intention was not for my personal opinion to have been shared publicly. And I now fully realize that privacy is an illusion in the online world.
Well, third party operators.
Hey. So I didn't want to interrupt Director Betts, but a moment ago, I heard someone whisper liar. That is exactly the kind of personal attack that is completely unacceptable here. And I don't know what was just mumbled, but whatever it is, that is not appropriate. And I will ask people to leave if you cannot behave yourself and follow the rules that we outlined at the beginning. Erin sat here while multiple complainants shared their perspective. We are now going to listen while she gets to share her perspective. There you go.
In closing, I take the board standards seriously and am committed to upholding them. I respect the rights and perspectives of my fellow board members, district staff, students, and the public. My goal remains to serve the district with integrity and dedication to the educational needs of all students. This incident has made me aware that the standard for some is not the standard for all when it comes to online discourse, and I will be more cautious in what I post online moving forward. I primarily use social media in a very unserious way. As a result of that perspective, I underestimated how dangerous things have become and how close to the boiling point everyone is, how violent and spurious the comment section is. Please be careful and allow my experience to be a lesson in how dangerous and scary the internet can be. To my fellow board members and Superintendent Halliday, I am so sorry that you had to read so many troubling messages and experience the ripple effects of this. And to our district staff, I'm so sorry you were caught in the undertow as well. I've learned a lot during this process. I've learned that apologies will never be enough for some people, but some people will quietly support you and believe in your heart. The voters of the Philomath School District have elected me to this position twice. If it is now the will of the majority of this community to seek a recall vote for me to leave the board through electoral processes, I will respect that. I want to reaffirm my commitment to this district. The work I do on this board is guided by a dedication to the educational needs of all students and not just those who share my personal views. Thank you. In an effort to rebuild public trust, I've joined the nonprofit organization Braver Angels, whose mission is bringing Americans together to bridge the partisan divide and strengthen our democratic republic. I pledge to continue to seek education and community across the divide. Because there isn't a policy in place that allows my fellow board members to remove me as chair of the board, in a good faith effort to restore public trust, I will be voluntarily stepping down as chair of this board effective immediately. I remain committed to serving on the board with honesty, respect, and dedication in support of all students and staff in the district. And since I have 4 minutes left, I wanted to share some of the messages that I received from community members. I was initially going to share some of the horrible things that were said, but I decided that I would rather share some beautiful things that were said to me. I just want to send a note of support to you. Thank you for being the voice of hundreds of people in the Paloma school community. I believe in freedom of speech. Don't let the loudness of angry people get to you. There are some who will purposely misunderstand no matter what is said. You have a lot of support and so many kiddos who are grateful for you. This will pass and the hateful ones will move on to something else. The rest of us will remain grateful for your work and efforts to make our community and world a better place. As a parent in the district, and these are separate quotes, I'm trying to pause in between them just to clarify. As a parent in the district, I am disappointed and want to apologize for the disgusting bullying you have all received from some of the community the past few days. While perhaps a little much for those who have no sense of irony, sure, but that doesn't warrant the reaction Erin has received. Please know that while we might be quieter and not as present on social media, there are a lot of us who are grateful for an open-minded and accepting board. Philomath can be an insular echo chamber, and I appreciate that you are all offering a view that is more representative of the rest of the community. This isolated group really believes they hold power, and please know they're just loud, not powerful. Thank you all for being a voice for the many and not just the few. This one is very long. I will skip to the next one. Right. I'm just a mom in your district who wants to let you know that I support you. My husband put it well, but she seems totally reasonable, and her comments reflect that. I don't know if I'm always totally reasonable, but I appreciate that. I wanted you to know that there are many of us who are grateful to have your perspective on our board. We might not agree politically, but I think it's horrible what Chaya of TikTok is trying to do. You're a good person and keep using your First Amendment rights and don't let these people silence you. There are more, but that's probably enough. Yeah. I'll leave it there.
Thank you. So we'll open it up to questions from the board members too. Director Gedge. Okay. Okay.
To clarify, in your statement, you said that you would be stepping down as board chair, but not as a board member. Is that?
That's correct.
I just wanted to clarify. And I guess just for my own, although you said it multiple times, I feel as though on the record, to just ask you if the intent of your post was to condone violence in any way.
Absolutely not. And I do recognize that that is the interpretation of it from some people, from many people possibly. I don't want to minimize that, but it was not my intention.
Did you get it?
Okay.
Sorry,
Really good karate.
You have a gold star for it. Other questions for Director Gedge? Okay, with that, we'll close the hearing part and Director Gedge, I do apologize for almost skipping your testimony, please. Sorry. Okay, so again, after hearing no more questions, we'll conclude that part of the hearing. We now move to board deliberations. So first, the board, so I would say we take this in two stages. First is, there were general complaints about Director Gedge's statements, but then there were also specific complaints regarding the violation of board policy, which Director Gedge addressed. But I think that is the first thing the board needs to do basically is are we substantiating or not substantiating, just like before, the complaint that there was a violation of policy? For the record, again, I'll just, read them, it was at least one complaint, I can't recall if multiple complaints that cited the board policies, but, again, it's policy, BVF, and it's board member standards of conduct. Item number 4 is respect the right of other board members to have opinions and ideas which differ. Number 20, use social media, websites, or other electronic communication judiciously, respectively, respectfully, and in a manner that does not violate Oregon's public meeting laws. And number 21, when posting online or up to social media, board members will treat and refer to other board members, staff, students, and the public with respect, and will not post confidential information about students, staff, or the district business. So those are the 3 parts of the policy that are that Chair Judge is being accused of violating. I would say we should talk through each of those to address that directly. So I might propose we just go through them one by one unless anyone has a different approach. Number 4, respect the right of other board members to have opinions and ideas which differ. We have a sense that in this post that Director Designated that she violated that. And the respect the right of other board members to have opinions and ideas which differ. You want all 3 to
I don't feel it. I don't feel as though yeah, I can substantiate that.
I would agree. Yeah, I think.
I would concur with that. I feel like her post restricted that I can have an opinion or.
Right.
Okay, so we can we'll go through all 3 of these, but at this point, I'm hearing general consensus that we would not substantiate that one. 20. Use social media, websites, or other electronic communication judiciously, respectfully, and in a manner that does not violate Oregon's public meeting law.
So this one, I think that, Erin made the point that she did not in any way violate Oregon public meeting law, or at least to my understanding of Oregon public meeting law. So I think that it falls to the judicious, oh my gosh, it's such a hard word to say. Thank you, judiciously, I got it, with no respect.
Right.
Wait,
maybe I think that's a good point. We've got three clauses there, or 3 objects there. I would agree. There was nothing that violated public meeting laws. Did any of this?
Well, and I read that one, I guess, there's a comment in there.
Well, we're just saying that of those 3, we're setting aside, there was no violation of public meeting law.
Okay.
But now we'll go back and talk about.
Okay.
I'm just trying to, whether we all agree quickly that it's not.
Okay.
And I don't think, right, so I think there's consensus on that. So now we're back to judiciously and respectfully.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think we could, I guess I shouldn't say I believe that the use of social media definitely was not respectful at that time, so I think there's a what the word is, argument there that social media was not used respectfully at that time.
I would concur.
Yeah.
There are obviously multiple people who had very good reason to feel like the post was disrespectful, and I would certainly argue not judicious. I think Director Judge made the point that, it was her private post, which makes it then slightly more judicious. However, in the world of there is no privacy on the internet. That when you post something and that, essentially has the result of being inflammatory, you're questioning whether you were judicious. Any other? So I'm hearing at least some.
I agree
Erin.
with what Erin said.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that I fully believe that in the moment when that was posted, it was not,
Right.
there was no injudicious or disrespect meant.
Right.
But I think that in retrospect, it can be seen as both of those things.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yep.
They actually aging
so I'm hearing at least some part of 20 has been substantiated. 21, when posting online or to social media, board members will treat and refer to other board members, staff, students, and the public with respect. And will not post confidential information about students, staff, or district business. I think we can dispense of that last clause. Clearly, there was nothing confidential about students. Nor I think we can dispense that refer to other board members, staff, or students. The question, I think, is the public was when posting online or to social media, board members will treat and refer to the public with respect. That I think is the question.
Mhm. And sorry, if there was a bit of a violation there for me.
I think reasonable people can feel that the post was not respectful to members of the public, certain members of the public.
Okay, this is why I asked the question repeatedly about where the post was going.
Yeah.
Is because I think there is a real gray area about Facebook being public versus private.
Yeah. I think that's a good observation, for sure. Yeah.
I'm just like disappointed in the fact that it was screenshotted and shared, screenshot and shared in such a way. I don't know, I guess I could have asked during my questioning, I didn't, I apologize, whether Karen had someone reach out on your social media posts to ask you, like, concern over the post itself. It's been mulling over in my head for weeks now about just like the process by which that was disseminated. This speaks volumes to me about a disconnect within our community that is really concerning to me. I'm really concerned that instead of people who were considered friends, having a discourse with the person that they are quote unquote friends with, that it went straight to a dissemination in the greater world, which I personally think brought on the incident of violent intent that we saw so egregiously in some of the communication. So that is incredibly disappointing. But as far as being treated with respect, it's a two-way road. It's whether respectful either way.
I would agree, but that's
I got out of bounds.
the rest, yes, exactly, we're not.
Having the discussion.
Yeah,
I don't know if this is appropriate, just cut me off if
Okay.
it's not. I did post a public apology as soon as it was brought to my attention and was incredibly respectful of everyone who posted in there. It only came down once I started receiving threats, as I mentioned in my testimony. Point of clarification, and if that was not appropriate, all of you just wipe that from your brains.
so let's just hone in on 21. Where do we each stand on whether that one is substantiated? And you want to weigh in?
Parts of it weren't, but I believe in general,
I think it's really just with treating the public with respect. That's the only one. All the other
That's-
ones are irrelevant. in this.
exactly, that's exactly.
So you would substantiate that one element, yeah.
Are you thinking?
Yeah, I am.
I don't think so.
See how I start there?
I will, but go forward. Much like 20, I mean, I feel like that's the key word.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I hear.
Yeah, same along the, whether it's technical public ground.
Yeah. Okay, so based on that consensus, what I would look to is a motion. Similar to what we did before, to substantiate or not substantiate the complaints. I think the motion is we would substantiate the complaints that the director judge should violate. Certainly the spirit, if not the letter of BDF point 20 and 21. So entertain a motion on that.
And like, are we gonna separate, are we gonna break those down or just?
No, I don't think there's anything. Yeah. I think what I heard was we had a consensus on those 2 points. We agreed 4 was
No,
not.
I meant in those 2021, those parts that we did.
No, I don't think it's, I don't.
But we don't have to break
It's,
it
I
down.
think it's, yeah, exactly. There was a violation, yeah.
Okay. I'll move that we substantiate the violation of whatever BBF 20 and 21.
21. Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. Further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of substantiating those claims?
Forgot about them. Sorry.
Mhm.
Well, I had a question, but.
Oh, no, that's fine. If I jump to the, if I can,
No, it's okay. So with substantiation, what does that?
that's it. All we, at that point, now we'll go and talk about next steps. And if I didn't make that clear, sorry. This is just basically, was there a violation of policy? And then we discuss what actions, if any, we want to take. So yeah, this is purely, so it's, you know, it's. Be careful here because this is not a trial, but basically, you know, there's the verdict, was the person in the right or wrong, and then what is the punishment? And so this is just the, was there a violation? Because there's no point in talking about sanctions if we don't think there was any violation. Yeah. Okay. Any other question, Aaron?
No, I think.
Okay, so now call the question on, was, the complaint substantiated on BBF 20 and 21? All those in favor? Okay, so that's 3. All those opposed? Okay. And we'll stay in that one. Okay, yeah, it's yours. It's just, yeah, that would be probably the most appropriate, but it's your, you get to make that decision. Okay, so that vote was 3 yeas, 1 nay, and 1 abstain. Okay, so now, we move into the potential sanctions. There's been a lot of discussion. So I'm gonna go back to my script here because I've done a lot of time working on this. So now the board should discuss any statements or steps we wish to take in relation to Chair Gudge's and now Director Gudge's actions as they relate to these complaints. At this point, I will point out or really remind the audience that the board has no ability whatsoever to remove a duly elected member of the board. I think everyone now understands. Furthermore, our board policy has no provision for removing a board chair from that role or calling for an election of new officers. But that's not relevant since Chair Gudge has already stepped aside. It's now Director Gudge. So by both law and policy, we are truly limited on the actions we can take beyond censure and making requests of Director Gudge. The way I see it is there's basically kind of 4 tiers that we're discussing. One is just a simple motion to condemn the words that were posted. That's, you know, probably the most innocuous. There's also the formal statement of censure of Director Gudge. We have draft language around that. We could have asked for her to step aside as chair as part of that. Obviously, she's already done that. And then the most extreme, of course, is we as board can ask her to step aside as a member of the board. But that is merely a request of the board, not anything beyond that. So, so you really take out one of those. She has already resigned as chair. So now we're looking at, again, just a simple motion to condemn the action. And then there's the formal censure, and then finally the request, which would be part of the board. Yeah, and then of course, as attorney points out, here's to us here, our attorney points out to us, we can take no action as well, based on the fact that she already has resigned. Yeah, so. Okay, so I will open it up.
And I know I asked before, I'm still confused what a censure is.
It's basically a public hand slap. You put it very simply, it's right. Congress does it. You can censure a member of Congress, and it just said you shouldn't have done this. Shame on you. Think better next time. Look, if we as a board condemn it and are disappointed, that's all it is. It's a simple statement.
So if we agree to a motion of censure, we essentially go, the mistake was made, we don't condone it.
Perfect. Yeah, and I have wording I can read out. That's, you know, pretty standard.
It is essential to the
Board member.
the board member and not the.
Correct. It's, yeah, and the first thing would be the very, you know, minimal would be a statement of condemnation of the statement that was made, right? There's that one. But then there's the next tier up would be the censure, and the next tier up would be the censure with the request to step down. So we'll open it up to we are. And like I said, I have, and actually you folks have received in the script I sent you there, the, you know, standard censure form. Or censure statement, I should say. So we want to consider that, but again, that's just an option. It's not, it's one of our three options remaining for us.
Well, I guess I came prepared to ask Karen to step down as chair, which she's done. I don't really understand the censure. It just sounds like. It just sounds like we're saying we don't agree with it, that we found some violations. I don't know what the censure holds or what it means, so I guess I don't. I'm too dumb to understand, so.
No, I mean, it literally is, it's a statement that the board has voted on, you know, to condemn the action, and so it puts the board on record for making that statement first.
So I guess that's kind of what I'm saying, and I would, my opinion as a board member is we don't condone that action.
Right. So, and again, I think we could just have a motion of, you know, we just condemn that, what was posted. That basically says, you know, we certainly as a board don't support that kind of language. That really is more about the post itself. The censure would say, you know, shame on Director Gudge for doing it, and we vote on that, and then in the public record, there's that public censure.
So if the capital motion essentially gets included in our packet.
Yeah.
Is that has to be read that whole time?
Well, I would, just so we all know what we're voting on. Yeah. You want me to, should we do that? Let's see if we want to, okay. So this is a big possible motion of censure. This is up to the board, right? The Philomath School District Board of Directors understand that it is the board's responsibility to monitor the behavior of each board member acting in the capacity of board member. Board members have a public responsibility to conduct themselves responsibly with respect to interactions with students, other board members, and school district employees. This public responsibility does not allow board members to engage in conduct that violates board policy regarding interactions with district students, staff, or community members. New paragraph. In consideration of the above, the board of directors has determined that Aaron Gudge, an elected member of the Philomath School Board of Directors, acted in a manner inconsistent with the values and policies of this board, which we did just vote on, and the district by posting on her Facebook account inappropriate and harmful statements regarding the death of Charlie Kirk in violation of board policy BFF, specifically sections 20 and 21. In consideration, new paragraph, in consideration thereof, the board of directors of the Philomath School District do hereby condemn this conduct and action of Director Gudge, and by passage of this motion to censure, do hereby censure Director Gudge. The censure is a tool used to separate the liability of the entire board, the governing body, from the actions of individual board members.
Because of how it reads.
Yep.
I would like to make a motion that we censure. I would like it to be on public record that we don't
Well, and again, you could just simply take that we condemn the statement.
understand.
Okay, and just make sure that's one, and then the censure would be the next level up.
Right.
Really directs it at Director Gudge.
Right.
Okay. So we have a motion to, and would you adopt the statement as I read it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that statement. You read that motion and statement.
Okay. Discussion. Aaron, I'm gonna bet you.
No, I'm just thinking. I was reading this earlier and I was, much like Brian, I feel like the censor is like. For me, yeah, I don't really understand it. But by censoring director. Member bench, I don't know what.
Director, member, I think some documents even refer to us as trustees, so yeah, but those are interchangeable, member, director, trustee.
What is the like the length of, like, the censor is like a permanent record and then it's like.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a piece of public record, yeah.
And so, sorry, this is probably me, this, but were there to be any sort of concern or action in the future that would be along the same line?
I mean, nothing other than there's already been a censure, right?
Very good flavor.
Wrong, yeah. It's not like 3 strikes and they're out. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, again, it's a pretty passive thing the board is doing.
The way I understand it as it is read, and the way I understand it is the censure is separating the board. The board as individuals, not as a one collective, I guess is how I read that, or how I understand that, is this, the censure is just separating. Not the full the school board, it was directed to one of the people on the board, not the entire board.
But it's the board saying to, we don't agree with what we did and we don't want to do that.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
that is fundamentally what we're doing. Yep.
Which is what we said on number 21 and 22. So,
Yeah. So we found a violation of policy, and now the question is, are we gonna censure? And again, a censure is, it's just a public hand slap. That is the extent of what we can do.
I have one question here, just. And. My understanding was that. All actions of individual board members are actions of those individual board members. So that last sentence in the paragraph is just confusing. That's fine. There is no board member who acts for the entire board.
Oh,
Each board member acts individually. That's why we each vote separately. So that part was just confusing.
Yeah.
That last.
the censure is a tool used to separate the liability of the entire board determined by the action of individual board members. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, we as individuals have no authority, but we certainly have influence. I think it is probably me.
It's a general statement, basically says the board is not responsible for the actions of board.
We're basically confirming what is.
Okay, just a
Yeah.
declaration of.
Yeah, I mean, it's a declaration of reality, which basically.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
A number of resolutions I've had to vote on that basically. Declared water is wet and the sky is blue. But other, yes. Okay, and more discussion? Okay, so I will remind us, we have substantiated the complaint that board policy was violated in EFF 20 and 21. And we now have the motion before us to adopt this motion of censure. Already acknowledging that, what we're not including it is that Director Gunn step aside as chair because she already has done that. So I would, unless there's further discussion, I will call the question. Okay, all those in favor of adopting the motion of censure as I read it? Okay. 4 yeas and 1 abstention. Okay. With that, I'll bring this special meeting of the Columbus.
Someone needs to delegate authority.
Oh, yes.
To provide a written response.
Yes.
Because of the policy required.
Yes, sorry. Okay, so sorry. But who are we kidding? You guys are gonna make me do it.
That's the vice chair automatically get.
No,
Technically, should delegate authority.
Oh, so we.
So I move that we put Tom.
Yeah. I so dumb. First one. Do we
Okay.
need that when we need a motion? right?
yeah, basically, yeah, so we need a formal response, particularly for those people who aren't here, but even the people who are here, just outlining what action the board took. And so, my commitment would be that we get that out by the end of the week. So, yes, so I had a motion and a second to delegate that to me. Any objections to that?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, so with that, I'll bring the special meeting of the Columbus School Board to a close. Oh. All right, sorry, I'm gonna read it a third time. With that, I will bring the special meeting of the Columbus School Board to a close. I appreciate the community's interest in these key issues and their respectful participation in the complaint process. And the hearing tonight. Overall, the behavior was excellent tonight. I really appreciate that. Before the end of the week, I will send an official letter of response to all the complainants in the 2 matters we consider tonight on the final decisions and actions of the board. Seeing nothing else, meeting adjourned.
Now,
That's